DJ.
Anybody got any questions? All right.
Can you start by just talking about the matchup basketball-wise?
Yeah, that's really all I'm interested in. I spent my Sunday watching Xavier on film. Hadn't seen him play yet this year. They're a high execution team. Really impressed with their team play, the way they pass the ball. They know who can do what on their team, and they're extremely well coached. So we got a work cut out for us. I'm very impressed with the way each guy on their team is playing their role on the team and playing to their strength. That's why they're shooting 50% from the field as a team, which is very, very impressive because they've played a bunch of solid opponents. So that's a big concern, their offensive execution.
What does your rebounding edge mean to you, Coach?
I think it's game to game. There's one thing about, I think you can get caught up in thinking that you have an advantage. You had an advantage against Marshall because we played really hard and really physical, and we were concerned about Marshall's rebounding. So, it's something I look at that as in game to game. I'm sure Xavier, looking at us recently, we've been rebounding the ball pretty decent. So I'm sure they're practicing, making sure we don't get a bunch of offensive rebounds. So this game especially too takes on a life of its own. So you got to be ready for the unexpected.
Most people assume you have an edge in depth, and you've had that against most of your opponents. Do you think that's an advantage going into this?
Well, I hope so, because if it comes down to height, Chris has had me his whole life on that. So hopefully it's depth of our team. But I think they had Justin Martin was out in their last game. I would expect he'd be back. He's been a very impressive player for them. And most people are only going to play 8 guys anyway, and they play 8 guys. So that's probably their style, that's their formula that's worked so well for them over the past 5 or 6 years. So it's no different for us. Always trying to make our depth a factor with our intensity and our hustle. If we don't have intensity and defensive pressure and take teams out of what they're trying to do, then our depth won't be a factor. We got to make it a factor by coming out and being aggressive on the defensive end.
Will this neutral site make a difference at all in this game as compared to previous years when it was played on the campuses?
Yeah, all I'm concerned with is what's good for our teams. And I think if you look around the country, the things that, whether it's Rick Pitino or John Calipari, Mike Krzyzewski's been a master of it, played December games at neutral sites. It readies your team for the postseason because that's where the NCAA tournament, they're played at big arenas, in downtown big arenas at neutral sites. So that's why, I think it's great for the city that we're playing down on the banks at U.S. Bank. But at the same time, I think it'll be an advantage for both of us come March to have a game like this at a neutral site.
I think you guys have won something like your last 13 games down there. A lot of them were against Miami, but not all of them. Do you guys feel your players feel comfortable playing there?
Let's just say none of them were this game.
Yeah.
So again, I don't think I put any stock in that.
Been a year since the fight. What lessons do you think have been learned, and are you satisfied with the community outreach that has been done by the teams and the students?
I have no concern with that whole incident. It's in our past. I don't really have anything to say about it. It's not a concern of ours. We get two teams full of young kids that are good kids or trying to get their education, chasing their dream in basketball. And I think if anybody talks about anything but that, it would be unfortunate.
With a lot of conference realignment and losing rivalries in college basketball, is it good that this one's still going and it's strong and people care here?
Well, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see how much people care and see if the game's sold out. Conference realignment has worn me out. The whole thing's a shame. I don't have a whole lot more to say about it. Kind of said all I need to say. It's a shame that one sport's dictating everything. There's a lot of negatives about it.
Would you talk for a moment about how important the UC-Xavier rivalry is to this community?
No, well, to be honest with you, I'm worried about the Bearcats and how important the Bearcats are to this community. I'd like to start selling our games out. I'd like to talk about how important Cincinnati basketball is to the University of Cincinnati and to the Cincinnati community. We have a team worthy of everybody's support and respect, and I think Xavier does. I mean, there's no question they have. But, people have worked really hard to get our program where it is, especially the kids putting the jerseys on. You got guys like Xavier, right, been through 3 surgeries. Jaquan Parker has had ups and downs in his career. SK redshirted for the cause. So my concern is support for Cincinnati. I know that sounds selfish, but that's my job. That's what I'm in charge of. So, you look behind me and you see the things on the walls here, trumpeting our tradition and our rich history. And that's what I worry about, because that's what I was hired to do, is to bring it back.
Have you done anything with your players since last year to make sure an incident like this doesn't happen again? Any kind of, I don't know, outreach with the Xavier players or anything like that?
None of it's necessary. There's some good kids on both teams. That stuff's in the past.
But did you do anything, or you didn't feel like you had to?
Like I said, my focus is on the game Wednesday night.
They don't have a lot of depth at guard, but both D and Samaje have played at a pretty high level. Just talk about the challenges those two present.
Well, you get Brad Redford off the bench. Again, that's my concern, is Xavier's players. All 3 of those guys are, Samaj Christian's making a lot of shots, putting the ball in the basket, and Brad Redford's a veteran. He's a veteran of this game, so I'm sure he's going to be a cool customer. D. Davis is really starting to realize his potential as a player. I saw him play in high school. He's a very good player. And then Justin Martin as well, I would count them as part of their backcourt. They're all shooting the ball well, and they're playing really well together. They take good shots, and they really execute. They've really bought into what they're trying to do to be successful this year. So I think that people definitely sold them short. If you learn a lesson from watching Xavier play, it's don't believe what you read in the preseason, where everybody had them pretty much dead and buried and picked way too low. There's a lack of respect for their program and their coach, and I think from spending the whole Sunday watching them, they're a good team, and they're a really good team.